I'm literally speechless right now. I just experienced one of the best Apple events I think I've ever seen. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly all the products that Apple announced, what features are coming to them, and why this is probably the most groundbreaking Apple event ever. Please disregard the noises in the back. I have somebody repairing one of my upstairs units. If it's too annoying, just try to get past it and I'll get through every single product. Starting off with the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro Max, they're bringing a brand new green color, kind of to invigorate an older iPhone design. This is something that a lot of companies do, and Apple is notorious for doing this with product red. Basically, halfway through a product cycle, they'll introduce a new color to kind of reinvigorate sales for that product. They also updated the iPhone SE with exactly what I said, a new A15 chip and 5G. This iPhone, like I said, it's an entry-level iPhone. Its budget is for the person that still wants Touch ID but wants to keep that same iPhone experience. This is going to hold them over for a few more years. They also updated the iPad Air with something I didn't think they would do, but they put the M1 chip in the iPad Air. And on the surface, it might look like they're cannibalizing their iPad lineup because you have the iPad Pro with M1 and then you have the iPad Air with M1. Why would you get the iPad Pro over the iPad Air? Well, the iPad Air still has an inferior display. The touch sampling on the iPad Air is not the same as the iPad Pro. So when you're using the Apple Pencil, it's a little bit smoother, a little bit less latency on the iPad Pro. And then they saved the best for last. They dropped the bomb on us and they announced the Mac Studio and the Mac Studio display. And this is something for pros. And I was excited but also sad at the same time that I wouldn't be able to justify the purchase because the sheer power that this device is going to be able to unleash is something that me, for the videos that I make on this channel, I'm not going to be able to even scratch the surface of what these devices can do. But let's start off with the Mac Studio. And I have some notes here because I was literally taking notes during the event. And we look at the Mac Studio. You're looking at made from a single piece of aluminum. Obviously, we would miss Johnny Ive. He would be great for this event. We have a better airflow. So this is something that Apple never used to do in the past. They kind of fumbled the ball on cooling their devices in the past, but they're taking no chances with this. Got a bunch of holes in the back and on the bottom of this to give you cool performance with these new M1 chips. And the new M1 Ultra chip is basically what's powering this device. So the M1 Ultra is literally two M1 Max chips put together. And this is something that Apple kind of kept a secret when they unleashed the M1 Max, but you can get the Mac Studio in either an M1 Max or an M1 Ultra. Obviously, the M1 Ultra is the ultra highest performance. This is for people who do multi-streams of 8K video editing, rendering, stuff like that, big studios. You also have Wi-Fi 6 support, Bluetooth 5, 4 Thunderbolt ports on the back. You got HDMI, you have everything you could ever need. You have like a billion Thunderbolt display. You have like a billion USB-C ports between the front, the back, and the display. You're gonna have no issues with connectivity. You're also getting an SD card slot right on the front of this thing, which this is crazy. I never thought Apple would actually listen to their users and say, look, we want USB-C and we want an SD card slot right on the front, because in the past there have literally been products specifically made to reroute the ports on the back of the iMac to the front so that it's easier to plug in your devices, and Apple did it with the Mac Studio. You can connect up to 4 Pro Display XDRs and a 4K TV, which is absolutely bonkers. I have one display and I think that's more than enough. It's 90% faster than Mac Pro, which is freaking crazy to think about. If Mac Pro is Apple's top tier, most expensive device, and this little guy is gonna be able to beat it, it just shows the sheer power of Apple ingenuity, and the transition from Intel to Apple Silicon has been a great success. And this is the final culmination of moving all of their products over to M1 Silicon. You also get an 8TB SSD, which I can't even fathom right now, even using 8TB of solid state drive storage on my device. 1TB, 2TB, that's enough for me. I use everything on the cloud. I airdrop things left and right. I delete final projects. But for somebody in a studio who's video editing, rendering things, doing a bunch of stuff like that, they're definitely gonna take advantage of this. And one of the things that really impressed me about the M1 Ultra and the Mac Studio is how power efficient it is. I don't think people realize how hard it is to make a chip that's this powerful be this power efficient. Usually companies can do one or the other. They can make a really power efficient chip that's not as powerful, or they can make a really powerful chip that draws and sucks a bunch of energy and gets really, really hot. Intel, I'm talking about you. But with this device, you're gonna be able to consume at least 1,000 kilowatt hours less per year energy. And that is something that shouldn't just be glossed over. This is Apple taking it to the next level and going out of their way to make a device that's not only powerful but power efficient. And the power efficiency is the only reason why Apple was able to make this enclosure so much smaller and didn't have to package it in a device the size of the Mac Pro. Basically, you're getting the power of a Mac Pro, well, way more, like 90% more, and you're getting the power efficiency of the M1 architecture. The M1 architecture has been a breakthrough because not only has it been able to scale up, but as it scales up, you're not compromising on power efficiency. You take the basic entry-level M1 chip and you compare it to the M1 Ultra, the power efficiency is right in line with those two chips, even though you go from the M1, M1 Pro, M1 Max, M1 Ultra. They all share the same architecture, but they all have their place, and you can see how Apple is taking this chip and dropping it in different devices. They're putting it in the 24-inch iMac. They're putting it in the iPad. They're putting it in the new Mac that they just released. This is going to change the industry, and nobody, I'm telling you, nobody can touch Apple right now. This is absolutely bonkers. Now let's talk about the display. Guys, this display is pretty much like a baby Pro Display XDR. Even though it does cost $1,600, it's a freaking steal. You look on the market, you can't get anything on the market for less than $2,000 from Samsung or LG that's going to be comparable to this device in terms of build quality and actual display quality and connectivity as well. So we're looking at a 5K Retina display, 3 USB-C ports on the back, 1 Thunderbolt port, and you can basically connect your laptop and charge it via one port, which is awesome. They have a new 12 megapixel center stage. They have a new 12 megapixel ultra wide camera with a 3 microarray and center stage, which is awesome. You don't need an external webcam. That's pretty cool. You get a 6-speaker sound system with spatial audio. You don't need to connect any speakers. You don't need an external webcam. This is going to be an all-in-one plug-and-play display. What else are we getting? Different stand options that's height adjustable. Obviously, the $1,000 stand is something reserved for the Pro Display XDR. I do believe this is going to be a little bit more affordable. But when you look at the price of the M1 Max and the M1 Ultra, the Mac Studio with the M1 Max starting out at $2,000, and with the M1 Ultra starting out at $4,000, you add that to a $1,600 display, it starts to add up pretty quick. So if you want the top level, the best Apple system, you're looking at a $4,000 M1 Ultra Mac Studio with a $1,600 display, which in my opinion, if you're somebody who video edits and needs that type of power, this is the device for you, and it's a no-brainer. I'm so excited. Oh, one last thing. They also announced new space gray and black accessories, a little bit more rounded like the new ones they unleashed with the 24-inch iMac. So now everything is going to have that nice dark aesthetic that some of the pros like to use. Like I've said in my previous videos, Apple delineates their devices. They release new darker accessories with these devices, and it's exactly what I said. Apple uses darker space gray colors for their Pro devices and uses the more playful colors for their entry-level stuff like the iPad Air and the iPhone SE. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you liked about this event, what you think, and I'm going to be making individual videos on each product, so stay tuned, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.